After spending last week with WWF Metal, we are back with Raw this week, and we are taking a step in the direction of Attitude. I will go more in depth into how or what's changed this week compared to other weeks, but that will happen when we're going more in depth into the show as we go segment by segment later on. But for right now, we gotta finish booking the rest of the show. Bret Hart calls in to talk with Vince and Tony and mentions that to think at King of the Ring, Bret Hart lost to Mankind in the semifinals after sustaining an injury. After sustaining an injury, quote unquote, and then was attacked later on in the show by a mystery assailant, and now is questioning, even though most people know who the mystery assailant was, the truth has yet to be revealed. And Bret has been missing since then. This is the first time we actually heard from him, but now he also knows who attacked him, or he thinks he knows who attacked him, and that's why he's taking time away, not to heal up injuries, but to figure out his next move. See, playing this game, the toughest thing to always do is, when you get to a certain point with the shows, it's filling up the rest of the show. It's filling up and figuring out what to fill up the rest of the show with. Like, should it be, storyline focus? Should it be some storyline, some random stuff, just to fit some filler? To not take focus away from the stuff that actually, the stuff that actually matters. What should fill in the card? Who really knows? It's a back and forth, I guess you could say, of, you could go one way or the other, but I usually land somewhere in the in-between of, some weeks it'll be, more storyline heavy, other weeks it'll be more focused on, a mixture of storylines and non-storylines to give more of a focus to the storylines that actually matter. Vince sits down with Pat Patterson to talk about altercation with Owen from last week and Bret. For those who don't know, Pat Patterson, from the time Bret started with WWE, was sort of a mentor to the Hitman, and I used that last week where Pat came out, Owen was giving another tongue lashing to his brother, and the fact that Bret was nowhere to be found. Bret backed out of the match with Owen because he was a coward and he got injured during his match with Mankind and could not continue. But the reality is, Owen said the reality is the injury wasn't really an injury. He was afraid of Owen, so he faked an injury to get out of the match. And then that's what he said at the King of the Ring, and then he gave another tongue lashing to his brother. But this one was interrupted by Pat Patterson, who came out to defend Bret Hart. And give Bret, the respect he deserves, but Owen took exception to it and just pie-faced Patterson down. See, the reason why I'm hesitant what to book in the main event, well, to finish the thought, Owen pie-faced Patterson down and just walked out of the ring. And that's how last week ended, with Patterson on the ground, on his ass, and Owen leaving. But now, I'm giving Owen the night off because he's been the focus the last couple of weeks. I'm gonna go with Flair. He's been the focus the last couple of weeks, so I want to give him the night off and focus in a different way on Bret and Owen's feud. But the reason why I was hesitant what to book in the main event is because the closing segment has to do with the world title. Heading into King of the Ring, Shawn Michaels threw his name in the hat as he wanted to be a top contender for the belt. So indirectly, The Undertaker was a top contender too, because Taker was fighting Michaels, and with the fact that Taker won, he moved into the title picture, and Michaels has to wait his turn. A triple threat match at Unforgiven. So, basically, after a slight distraction from Paul Bearer at King of the Ring, just to take a trip back, and after a slight distraction from Paul Bearer at King of the Ring, Michaels comes up short, and The Undertaker gets the win, which leads to Taker wanting a title shot against Ric Flair, but J.J. Dillon announced that there would be a battle royal, which Finlay won, where it included only wrestlers that have never challenged for the world title. And this is why. He wanted to give Flair a different type of match. Because even now, it is a rarity, as you can tell, for the WWF title to be defended in a triple threat match. The only two occasions that the title has been defended in a triple threat were here at WrestleMania and here at WrestleMania. Let's go back even further. Yeah, I've only defended the title twice in a triple threat match, both times at WrestleMania. So this is a big deal, and this is the first time the title will be defended in a triple threat at a non-WrestleMania. So it is a pretty big deal. Austin gets a jobber match. Gotta bring that up a little bit. And then we move to the return of Brian Pillman, who sustained an injury last month to his throat during a match with Austin in the King of the Ring tournament. But now Heenan keeps telling Gene to not talk to Pillman because Pillman can't speak because of his throat. But this is the slow burn to, as you see, the name of the storyline. Robert Gibson beats Bob Orton Jr. Bob Orton Jr. is on his way out. That's why he did the job, because it also now sets up for the Rock and Roll's next feud with the Harris brothers. Which I'm going to have to set that up, because I forgot that I still had Rock and Roll. I forgot to set it up as a feud, because Rock and Roll is still feuding with Diesel and Ahmed Johnson. Yokozuna, Humperdinck wants one more match with El Gigante. I believe it was 2 months ago in May when Yoko fought Elegante in his debut. The match ended in a draw. Then last month at the King of the Ring, Yoko teamed with Shane Douglas against Elegante and Mark Merrow. And now Yoko wants a rematch against Elegante at Unforgiven. Huh. This is an interesting turn of events. Debbie Malenko. Well, I booked the match, but Debbie Malenko goes against Medusa. For the last few months, Medusa and Debbie Malenko have been finding secret admirer notes, but as it turns out, the notes that Medusa thought were for her were for Debbie. But Medusa doesn't want to admit that. But Bison Kimura found out about that, and now Debbie wants Medusa to admit it, but Medusa doesn't want to. And apparently Debbie is strong female demographic, strong with the female demographic. But Medusa plays the card of being the establishment and will not fight Debbie Malenko and is willing to take a loss against her. Nothing to this match other than giving the Godwins a win. Terry Funk is talking about facing Brian Lee tonight in a match that he, after defeating Brian Lee in the King of the Ring, he gets a shot against the Intercontinental Champion. And he points out Candido doesn't like to play well with others, and it's showing because his ego is getting in the way of his faction, because he doesn't like the success Brian Lee's having, and Candido's having none of it. But now, Funk and Brian Lee. Funk defeats Brian Lee when Brian Lee was disqualified after Candido ran in and attacked Funk, causing the DQ. Which just adds more fuel to the fire as far as this is concerned, because Brian Lee has always hated it when Candido gets involved, or when people get involved, because he doesn't need the help. But as you see, Candido was smiling because he knew he screwed Brian Lee and Terry Funk. Brian Lee is angry and Terry wants a fight, so JJ appears and announces Candido versus Funk next week. Winner faces Brian Lee at Unforgiven for the Intercontinental title. And by the way, Brian Lee's the one with the title, looking for the babyface turn. Jeff Jarrett's talking about 1-2-3 Kid, saying that he did not underestimate him, and he blames the loss at King of the Ring to 1-2-3 Kid again on Jimmy Hart, saying, Jimmy, for my match tonight, I want you to stay back here. I don't want you at ringside. And, of course, Jeff goes on to beat Juventud Guerrero to prove, or possibly prove, he may not need Jimmy Hart anymore. Which opens the door for what could happen at Unforgiven if Jeff Jarrett faces 1-2-3 Kid again at Unforgiven. As I mentioned earlier, Bret Colt is in and talks about where he's been and what's been going on and who he thinks attacked him. But he says he doesn't want to reveal what he thinks until he will reveal what he thinks when he comes back at Unforgiven. Yokozuna against the Sandman. You know, this is all the stuff that I talked about as I was booking it. Solid segment between Elegante and Yokozuna, and the match is made for Unforgiven, Yokozuna against Elegante. You can ask, let me know in the comment section, is it El Gigante or Elegante? Solid segment. I didn't expect it that I'd get that good, but I guess Vince is better than I thought, or Pat is better than I thought. But either way, Pat talks about what happened last week with Owen and his relationship with Bret. Disappointing main event. Maybe this is why I'm releasing Too Cold Scorpio. But either way, a disappointing main event. Flair did his best with Scorpio, or as best he could. JJ announces the triple threat match, that for the first time, the WWF title will be defended in a triple threat match at Unforgiven, the first Unforgiven, not WrestleMania. For the first time, as I mentioned earlier. A solid show. A solid show all in all. I mean, as I'm sure everybody likes, as I'm sure everybody prefers to gain popularity, but I say not losing popularity is more of a win. In an easy week this week, I'm going to let you know that next week you will see the first glimpse of the Age of Attitude hitting the airwaves on Raw, as not only will we be back in the States, because as you know, we did this episode from Hawaii after much insistence from the game, as they booked me in Hawaii for the last 3 shows. But either way, next week we'll take a big step forward on Raw, so you got something to look forward to. But so you don't miss it, feel free to leave a like, subscribe to the channel to always know when a new video is up on the channel. And before you go, don't forget to ding that notification bell to always be up to date on the activity of Wrestling Express. Till next time, see you next week.